Yeah, the last thing that bothers me, oh my gosh, this thing has been bothering me also for a long, long time. Is it correct to bind and loose Satan or the devil, which is another practice many Pentecostal or charismatic believers do? Do people of God have the authority to actually bind and loose the devil? The saints of old, as well as even archangels, did not think so. I'm reminded, even though I didn't put this in the outline, I'm reminded of the Michael the archangel who couldn't bind the devil, right? Because he said to the devil when they were disputing about the Moses' body, may the Lord rebuke you. That's it.
Mhm.
Boop, he left. Now, some people say, well, we have bigger authority than the archangels because Jesus died for us. The Holy Spirit lives in us, who is God, not in the archangels. So we have more authority and power. Okay, there is a way you can form your theology but like that, but there's no way you can measure your strength with angels. Can you imagine archangels? They're like God's generals. So with their powers, with their weapons, they cannot defeat the Satan, and you think you can bind him and loose him. Even if you can, I agree with this when it comes to the Reform and Calvinist preachers and theologians who will come and actually mock this kind of theology. Says, well, if you keep binding him and losing him, who is setting him free? If the devil is bind and loose every day, how come he gets so easily often out? Does he have that monopoly jail free card? I mean, I know I'm kidding now, but at point we come to the point of like, I think we overemphasize our role in this spiritual warfare. So would you agree or not?
Yeah. So in the new book, which should be out this year, I call that mentality the Babylonian consciousness. It just where there's just hyper spiritual, and they um, look. What does binding and loosing come from in the Bible? The concept of binding and loosing is not in relation to Satan in the Bible. When Jesus mentions binding and loosing, he's not talking about Satan. He's talking about heaven. He's talking about heaven. He mentions the church just twice. Jesus does in the book of Matthew. And the first context, he says the church will be able to bind and loose heaven through its actions. How do you loose heaven on earth? Through your actions, through living, through kingdom living. That releases heaven on earth. You want to bind up heaven on earth? You want to bind it? Don't live kingdom life. What's the second thing? The second thing is like a chapter later. I think this is Matthew 16, I think. Anyway, just look it up. The second thing that binds and looses heaven is unity of believers. Unity, cooperation of believers. You want to bind up heaven? Then have disunity. Have disunity on earth. You want to loose heaven on earth? Work together. Work together. Doesn't mean you have to agree with everything, but work together. Find areas of commonality. Work together. Kingdom stuff. And that looses kingdom, God's rule on earth. Those are what's binding, what we bind and loose. We don't, it's not the devil, it's heaven. Oof. Just think about that, man. If we stopped with the magic words, that's what it comes down to. These are magic words. If I say these words, the devil has
Uh,
to flee. It's not. It's not a magic word.
Yeah, when I read a while ago commentaries coming from other part of Christianity, and when I say other part, I mean by Reformed scholars, I really like how they dissected these parts of binding and loosing. They say that in that whole chapter has nothing to do with demonic or with Satan, but it has to do with how to deal with things in the church. So then Jesus said, if I'm paraphrasing, that he'll be there with you. Whatever you bound and loose here on earth will be on heaven. When it
Yeah.
comes to how the church is regulated, structured, how to deal with certain stuff and structure in the church. So this has to do with those things, not with binding and losing Satan. So when I read the commentary, I was like, wow, I didn't see it in that light, because I mean, yeah, I have some moody degree, but it doesn't mean everything I would read. understand immediately, or I would always understand the proper context. This is why I constantly seek to learn and to read, and hence the glasses. I didn't read glasses before. It all comes from studying, right? I just started doing them. No, but seriously,
The
it's,
Reformed love that too, because the Greek tenses of that phrase, binding and loosing on earth has been bound and loosed in heaven, also means has already been bound or loosed in heaven. So like it's God's sovereignty in action. We cooperate with what God's doing through our actions and through our unity. Anyway, it's like it's both earth and it's heaven working. But it's not a prayer about demons.
yeah, it's definitely not binding and loosing Satan.